Welcome to another edition of Beyond Local, Get to Know LSEO. This is episode 50, and I'm Kyle Kozie, the Vice President of Search here at LSEO, and I have the pleasure of introducing and interviewing this fine gentleman, Steve Blackburn, who's our VP of Operations. Welcome, Steve.
Your pleasure. How about me, man? I get to hang out with the most handsome guy in the SEO industry today. I mean, I know that the people are used to having Jeff Kimmel here, but Jeff deserves some time off. He's down the shore, and I have the pleasure of doing this segment with you, man. But to answer your question, I'm doing great, man. Thanks for having me.
Welcome. So, not to look ahead, but I think obviously I have the pleasure of working with you, so I feel like I know a lot about what we're going to talk about today. A little bit about operations, maybe some beer, and fish. Not the kind you pull out of a lake.
Oh, we'll have to see, man. I don't want to have a spoiler alert or anything. The people tune in every week, so we could dive right in. The only bad part is, like, I feel like I've been through this, so I know a lot of what's coming, which isn't good, though, because then it's like you plan your answers and, I'll screw it up.
So let's jump right into it. Let's start from the beginning. Give us your professional background. Tell us a little bit about Steve Blackburn and how you got to where you are right now.
All right, so I think I've always been in sales and marketing to some extent. I'll go back to, swindling young guys out of their chocolate milk in elementary school, right? And then I went through high school, went to college, and had no idea what I wanted to do. Little known fact, right, was I actually started in college in an engineering program to design HVAC systems, which I don't think anybody probably knew because I never bring it up. And then I realized you're not that good at math. We're in a big building, which we just had the cooling tower kind of redone on. So you can imagine, how much air and the calculations that go into that. So I got out of that. Then I went to school for economics. And then the financial crisis happened, and I was like, well, that's not really a good job to get into. And when I got into my car accident, I was bedridden for over a year. So I ended up going back to school online, and I ended up getting a degree in computer information systems. It led me to the internet, right? And I worked at Registrar Network Solutions, which was bought by Web.com. So I sold people domain names, learned hosting, learned email, and got into marketing, which then ultimately led me to LSEO as the client services manager. And then Chris Jones, in all of his infinite wisdom, said, well, hey, we've got other people who can also help our clients be successful. And I started to move more into the day-to-day operations and helping Chris run the company on a day-to-day. So that's where I am today. And, of course, getting to sit across from, again, the most handsome guy, international thought leader, Kyle Kozie.
So that's a pretty extensive background, 10 years plus in the industry or in the internet.
Or you're just calling me old, man. That's all. Yeah, I mean, come on. We can't all be 20s still, but yes.
So throughout those years, now you're at LSEO, and I just want to know why LSEO. Why'd you choose to come here?
Well, I worked for a large org and great company, and I certainly learned a lot there, but our product offering was kind of like we had to fit people around the product that we had, rather than fit the product around the person or the customer or client or whatever you want to call it. So my biggest gripe was I loved marketing. I loved helping people, and I wanted to get to an organization that could really help me go to the next level. We had a gentleman that worked with us, good friend of ours, Chad Mummert, who I had worked with previously at Web, and he had called me up one day and said, hey, Steve, we're looking for somebody to handle client services for us. I think you'd be perfect for it. You're personable, you understand the industry, etc. And then you and another friend of ours, Chris Nash, interviewed me. And about there was that dance we did for quite a while, and then I came on to the team, and here I am today.
Awesome. So the next question is what's your favorite thing about LSEO? even though I think I already know that, it's working with the most handsome gentleman in SEO. So I'm going to ask you, what's your second favorite thing about LSEO?
Well, you're not wrong. So we'll start there. It's working with the most handsome person in SEO. That is true. I really think it's the people, right? So I come into work every day, and I hated the pandemic, man. You know me, like, we have a flexible schedule. People can work from home, but I don't work from home unless, like, I have to go to the dentist or my car needs to get taken care of or something. I love the people. I feed off of that energy. People probably can tell that you and I get along, but they probably don't know that, you're one of the people I talk to the most out of anyone. I talk to you as much as, I'd consider you one of my better friends in life now too. So I really think the people and the relationships that I created here, with a lot of the staff, that's my favorite thing. We're a small but mighty team, and we all, really care about each other professionally and personally.
Awesome. So the next question is, what's one thing you would change about the LSEO office? And throughout this series, a bunch of people have said more dogs, more pets. And ever since they've been saying that, there's been a ton of dogs upstairs now. So don't repeat that answer. But what is one thing you would change about LSEO?
Well, it's funny because there's a dog up there running around right now, Remy, and that was great. He's full of energy, and boom, right into a glass door today. So the one thing that I think I would change here, well, first, maybe the elevator. That's a little bit slow, but I think that's that's not really my job to change. So I think the one thing that I would change here would be we would come back to the office full time. Again, that's just because I thrive off of the energy, and as much as we're here 3 days a week all together, I would love to have everyone all together all the time. And sorry guys, when they see this, they're going to be like, well, he kind of makes that decision. I'm not taking it away from you. You get to work from home still. But he asked me a question where I got to be selfish for a minute.
I'm going to throw one other question in here before we get to some of the personal questions, but what's a typical day-to-day look like for you in terms of operating or running LSEO?
That's not even fair, and you know that. So a typical day-to-day is, first I come in, we start during the year at 9 o'clock, during most of the year at 9 o'clock, but I like to give the staff the summer Fridays. So we work, instead of 9 to 5, we work 8 to 5. And then on Fridays, we work 8 to 12. So I think that's a cool perk. But I usually get to work about a half hour to 40 minutes early. And the first thing I do is I just get through some emails, because not only do I help run the company on a day-to-day basis, but as you know, for our larger accounts, I still do the client services. So first I want to make sure that everybody's happy. And then I have to go through the 66,000 emails I get every day of, hi, I am high quality link builder, or, people trying to sell us products. I'm sure that you've noticed as you've moved up in your career and titles and things have changed, your spam email's gone up as well. So I spend the morning combing through the nonsense. And then what I like to do is, we have a project management system. So I like to jump on, make sure that all of our tasks are being completed by our teams. If they're not, I go to the recently promoted wonderful woman, Riley Kane, the SEO manager, or to you, and I say, hey man, we're falling behind here, or, any adjustments that have to be made. Then I often meet with the accountant and make sure that, just everything from a P&L standpoint is correct. Often we'll have executive meetings or management meetings depending on the day. So there's that. I still jump on client calls from time to time. I meet with you on strategy for accounts. I meet with Riley on strategy on accounts. And then sometimes I have to do that, what I call the David Blaine, because I often get, double booked, triple booked. So I have to be 3 places at one time. So I play that game. So there isn't really a typical day. I would say that my typical day is managing controlled chaos the best that I can, and having a lot of fun doing it.
Awesome. Yeah, and I think you left an important part out there. So just being an employee and watching you operate the company, I sort of think of you as like the head coach. So one important step I think you left out there is you go around and pep up the staff, make sure they're at the top of their game, and make sure we get the most out of them, and it's a fun environment to work. So I think you sold yourself short there, but I'll throw that 2 cents in because Steve's really great at that.
Oh, well, thank you. Look at that. I'm getting compliments today.
All right, so I think that's enough about Steve, the LSEO employee. Let's learn a little bit more about your personal life, or Steve the person. So what do you like to do for fun? What's your hobbies? What do you like to do outside of work?
Well, my favorite thing in the whole world, you know this, but the people don't, and although it's been hinted at a few times, right, is there's this rock and roll band that I like to see. It's a band called Phish. It's not like they're that obscure, but I've seen them over 100 times, and it's my favorite thing to do is kind of follow them around the country. My fiance Amy is also a fan, so we have that in common, to the point where, like, when we decided, well, I guess when she gave me the pity to say yes, we could get married, I proposed to her at a Phish concert in Washington at the Gorge. I'll have to show a picture of that. It's the coolest music venue out there. But every year we go to Colorado, we see Phish. I've seen them in multiple states. And then what leads me to that is, well, I collect beer mostly, but now I've gotten the bourbon kick too. So I guess you'll say I just collect booze. The bad part with that, though, is I have shelves upon shelves upon shelves of lambic beer mostly, and then some other wild ales from the U.S., from like Hill Farmstead in Vermont, DeGard in Oregon, things like that. So I really enjoy beer. I really enjoy music, and I get to tie that together because the cool thing is when we do runs for Phish concerts, people that I've met from all over the country, we all get together and we drink, exotic beer, I guess I'll call it. It's not the word I would want to use, but we drink different craft beers from all over the world and things like that. So I get to tie those two things in together. And then, outside of that, I'm a huge sports fan, right? Go Flyers, love baseball, love football. I can watch basketball. I'll root for the Sixers because I grew up in suburban Philly, but, I can't be like, so it's probably the opposite. Like, you'll watch a hockey game, and then once, if the Flyers are in the playoffs, like, you'll be like, okay, I'm all in. But, I'll watch the Sixers in the playoffs. Sorry about that, buddy.
It's hard to watch. I wouldn't watch them with, if you had to see Ben Simmons jumper, man, that's tough.
Well, as a fanatical fan like yourself, maybe. For the casual fan like me, I'm like, holy crap, he just shot 32% from the foul line. That's when I can point, and, because you have a lot of people watch sports, a guy strikes out, they're like, oh, I could do that. You can't hit 100-mile-an-hour fastball. That's why you don't play baseball. I think that I could shoot 30% from the free throw line. So it's a little bit comical now. Now I'm picking on you, but yeah, so that's what I do, man. It's music. I collect alcohol and sports, man. They're really my passions. And then just sitting around and enjoying time with Amy.
Awesome. And this guy's not kidding when he talks about he's the biggest Phish fan. He made us listen to 9 hours of different live tweezers for all you Phish fans out there.
Wait a minute. We got a research team, and I'm gonna call BS on that. So that was Michael Ruth, who was on here, was on vacation, and Michael plays the Phish here, not me. He was gone, and I said to him, I was like, Michael, it's been weird not hearing Phish all week. And then I jokingly said, hey, we should put together a list of just tweezers. And he said, that would be amazing. Can you do that for when I come back? So little known fact, that was not just me. I don't, so the people may hear about this. I did it, but it wasn't my doing.
So I'm sure a lot of your Phish buddies are going to watch this podcast. What's your top 3 Phish shows you've ever been to?
Oh man, that's a tough one. I think the first one, right? Because that was the rite of passage, and it was, funny thing is, this summer my first Phish show turns 21, right? Like that's wild. So 7/4/2000 has to be up there because it was the first one. 8/31/12. So that was a show played out in Colorado, and that was just incredible. And I'm going to say the next one, because your favorite show should always be the next one you go to.
That's a good answer. See that? He even knows them by the dates. All right, so branching into the other hobby you talked about, what are your top 3 breweries in the United States?
Oh, Hill Farmstead is number. Now, is this just the United States or the world?
Let's just go U.S.
All right, so I would say Hill Farmstead is probably my favorite. Then I think the next one would be, it's a company called Block 15 in Oregon. And the third one would be Russian River Brewing Company in Santa Rosa, California. I think that they're 3 breweries that can do many different styles. And, you know, there's a lot of other great ones, but that are, I don't want to say one-trick ponies, but like if you're into IPAs, you could go to like Treehouse on the East Coast or Monkish on the West Coast. If you're into stouts, there's a bunch of different Florida breweries like J. Wakefield, etc. But I think those 3 breweries can really run the gamut and produce just world-class beer in multiple different aspects and styles.
Gotcha. Makes sense. So, and I think one thing we're going to have to do to this podcast, you talked about showing some pictures earlier. I think we're going to have to show some pictures of your basement and the beer, because it is incredible.
I mean, it is, but to you guys, like, it's the same thing when I say, like, you know, I mean, I have quite a bit, and sure, I'll show up some pictures. My friends are like, ho hum. It's the same thing when I say, like, hey, I've seen Phish over 100 times. Some of my friends are at like 300 and 400. So I guess it's impressive to other people, and it's ho hum to me. So, but I'll put up some pictures. I'm not afraid to share a little window into my life.
Awesome. So this next question, I heard you give a lot of stink to a lot of people who've been on this podcast. So I'm interested to see your answer. But if you could have one superpower, what would it be?
I mean, other than, you know, looking like you.
Sure.
All right. So, you know, I don't want a superpower, and it's because I think that life's pretty great right now, and I'd be afraid that it's like the Spider-Man thing, right? With great power comes great responsibility. So if I could be invisible, or if I could read people's minds, or I could do this or do that, I think that I would probably use that power for nefarious reasons, and it would be such a power that I can't wield. So I would like to have the wisdom to pass on having a superpower. And I know that is corny answer, and not the one that any of you people were looking for, but it comes from the heart, and it's really how I feel.
Gotcha. So let's get into some of your favorite stuff. Listen, band, we already know what it is, Phish. But if you weren't listening to Phish, what are some of the other bands you would listen to?
So I like to listen to a lot of jazz music, and I like a lot of Jerry Garcia's music, whether it's the Jerry Garcia Band or the Grateful Dead, etc. But, you know, I really don't hate upon anything. I mean, you have turned me into an actual, well, not country fan, but I appreciate actual country music, not the the Luke Bryan bro country of the world and things like that. But you've turned me on to some of the newer age, really successful singer-songwriter type country musicians. So I like a lot of that music as well, though. So like Americana. There was a young gentleman who lived in northeastern Pennsylvania, Michael Miswinski, who was just a great singer-songwriter. And his playing when I was in my early to mid 20s really got me more into music like that, So I'll listen to things like Bob Dylan, not as much as Michael, or there's a band called Dawes that I really like, or The Band is another band that I really enjoy. So I don't want to give that, I like everything, because I don't, I don't like mumble rap. I don't like, as if Eric was here, I'm not really into the stuff. I mean, I like some of it, like the Disco Biscuits are pretty fun, but I can't listen to it often or long. And I think a lot of bluegrass gets boring, but, I like a lot of stuff. So I like to keep it mixed up, but at the end of the day,
99% of the time it's
Yeah,
Phish.
I mean, if it like it, there's just like if it, so it would be easier if you asked me, hey, what's your favorite jam? I'd be like 1231 93 Harry Hood. Like there's just this minute where the hair on the back of my neck stands up, and it does it every time. But so I like a lot of stuff.
Awesome. So we obviously know band. What's your favorite movie?
I would have to say probably Saving Private Ryan, right? I think that A, it's a great movie, and B, I think that first like 15 to 20 minutes where they're storming the beach of Normandy, I don't remember even like being in school and seeing like, well, back when I was in school, they used to wheel a TV in on, instead now they probably have flat screens and things like that. But I don't remember ever there being like something that I would think would be more realistic to what the D-Day invasion was like. And I thought that movie was really great, and I thought Tom Hanks did a fantastic job. And there's a great cast there, and they tell a great story. So I would say Saving Private Ryan's probably my favorite movie.
Awesome. And agreed, great movie. But you're not that old, because when I was in school they still rolled those TVs.
Well, that's because you're getting old.
Damn. All right, so last one, rapid fire. What's your favorite book?
I struggle with that because there's different books for different reasons. So, there's professional and personal development books. Like I love the Personal MBA. That's a great like business book to read. I'm reading the Amazon book right now, and then I think there's also some of the classics. Like I would say like The Catcher in the Rye, or I really would say favorite book, gun to my head, probably On the Road, so by Jack Kerouac.
Gotcha. All right, so I mean, we have one last question. I think you and Jeff have ended every podcast with this question, so I'm going to ask you the same one. But what is one piece of advice you would give someone, or to the listeners today, about digital marketing?
Well, I'll tell the people, because the people probably either work for a business or own a business or inspiring business people. I think that the best thing that you can do in digital marketing is map out, what does success look like? There are so many KPIs, and you can get traffic, you can get time on page, you can lower your bounce rate, you can do this, that, and the other. But at the end of the day, what is your business goal? Is your goal to get more people to your website, or is it leads, right? Is it conversions? What is a lead? What is a conversion? I mean, we struggle with, often like Google calls things or Facebook calls things CPA, where I look at that and I'm like, that's not an acquisition yet. It's they filled out a form. They're not a customer. We have their information. So in my opinion, that's CPL, not CPA. So, and that's cost per acquisition versus cost per lead. Sorry, guys. But I think measuring and knowing what success looks like for you is the most important thing, because then you're able to judge your digital marketing firm on the job they're doing, right? So if let's say that I own an e-commerce store and I need to sell sneakers. Well, if you came to me and said, I'm the most handsome guy in SEO and I'll get you more traffic, and 6 months later you said, hey, look at all this traffic I got you, and I said, yeah, but my sales are stagnant. Success isn't, that's not success to me. I don't care how many people get to my website. Get me more revenue. So I think the important thing is realizing, what does success look like to you, and then holding the firm that you have hired or the agency to, my success is it's your success. My best interest is yours, because then I'm going to stay with you.
Yep. Great piece of advice. Couldn't agree more. All right. So that's it. And I'm not going to forget this last segment, but you sitting in the guest chair now, I think you have the honor of picking our next guest. Who's it going to be?
Well, kudos to you, because I've screwed this up about 3 of the 5 times that we should have done it. So I think that we're going to go back to, I think Allison was one of the first people on, right? And we've done a little bit of everything. So we had Allison from web, we've had a couple of SEOs on here, and recently we had Nick, and then we had Tucker in client services. So Nick does paid. So I think we're going to start the rotation over. I'm going to go back to web dev, and I think next week, the man, the myth, the legend, Stan Stankiewicz.
Awesome. There you have it, folks. You heard it there. You're going to get to know our web dev, or our lead web dev, Stan Stankavage, next week. So that's it. Have anything else to say to the folks?
Episode 50, man. I can't believe we've done this
like a milestone.
50 times in 2 weeks, and that's a year of the people's lives. So all I want to say is thanks for tuning in. Thanks for joining, and I'll be back doing the part I'm better at next week. That's asking the questions instead of answering them.
All right, so that's it. Thank you for joining us on another edition of Beyond Local. Get to know the staff. Get to know the LSEO staff, I should say. We'll be back next week, and you'll get to meet Stan.
And great job filling in, Kyle.
Thanks.